The psychodynamic approach to aggression. This opposes the biological theory to aggression. So we have an id, an ego, and a superego. Our ego is the conscious, the superego are preconscious, the id, the unconscious. The ego, the conscious, is 2 years plus, and it controls and delays the urges of the id. The development of our norms and values are learned in our ego. It understands when and to the extent of which a behaviour is appropriate. The ego has no problem with using aggression as long as it thinks it will win. For example, you may use social aggression in the ego to make someone feel bad about themselves, but you will win. You will make them feel bad about themselves. They will not hurt you back. Superego, or preconscious. This develops at 3 to 6 years old. Morality principle develops. Pride when behaving correctly, guilt when behaving incorrectly. Aggressive behaviour or impulses are controlled by the superego. The id or unconscious. You are born with this. This is a primitive part of personality. It is where Eros and Thanatos resides. It's entirely impulse, with no thought for consequences. If the id is denied pleasure, it becomes frustrated, which leads to aggression. If any issues in developing ego or superego, it leads to you not being able to control the I did, which leads to aggressive behaviour or urges. Eros and Thanatos. Eros is focused on preservation and enjoyment of life, whereas Thanatos is driven towards death, destruction, and initially this is directed at the self, and then it's redirected towards others in the form of aggression. Eros and Thanatos balance each other. Defense mechanisms to prevent aggression from being directed at oneself. Thanatos. Repression. Aggressive urges that we repress drain libido. We don't have enough energy to keep aggression repressed. Therefore, it explodes out. Denial. The conscious mind refuses to admit what they are doing. Projection. The superego hostility is directed towards people who seem to be acting on the same feeling, often involves victim blaming for provoking aggression. Sublimation. I did urges are acted upon but transformed into something socially acceptable. Aggression may be sublimated into sports. Displacement. ID urges are acted upon, but they are directed at different targets. This often happens with aggression, which can be targeted at someone or something else, rather than the real cause of your anger, e.g. sports. Now, sublimation and displacement sound very similar, and they are. However, with sublimation, it's socially acceptable aggression. With displacement, it doesn't have to be. You could displace your anger onto your boss, onto your friend, onto your family, and it could not be socially acceptable. It could just be anger. But you're not actually angry at them, you're just displacing this anger. Psychodynamic theory can explain different types of aggression. Social aggression comes from defense mechanisms because the superego won't allow us to act out physically our aggression, and to appease the superego, the ego acts out social aggression. Most social aggression is displacement, anger at parents, aggression towards peers, or sublimation. Sexual jealousy. Sexual feelings come from the I did but are controlled by the superego. We learn to sexually shame from our parents and wider society, but its sexual needs are insistent. This leads to conflict and unhappiness. Repression enables us to act normally but drains the eros, and displacement of frustration leads to us taking this frustration out on others. Strengths. Catharsis is an ordinary experience. Many people do feel calmer or more at ease after venting aggression through sport, gym, or games. This means the theory is applicable to real life and reliable. Psychoanalysts can treat aggression. Psychoanalysts help clients by exploring dreams and childhood memories to work out what they mean, and application is allowed, however, not measurable. Freud based his theory on psychoanalysts and his patients. He also carried out a case study on little hands. As well as this, he psychoanalyzed himself, studying his own dreams and childhood memories. This is scientific and reliable. A strength and a weakness is that his study is non-falsifiable. It cannot be proved, nor can it be unproved. This is because there is no reliable evidence that the I did, Eros and superego actually really exist in our brain. Weaknesses of the theory then. It doesn't explain aggression entirely. Couples who have an argument should be less likely to be aggressive due to letting out aggression. However, couples who argue are more likely to be abusive. Therefore, the theory is not applicable or valid. Other explanations for aggression. For example, the brain. This theory reductionist as it doesn't see the biological approach. Karl Popper. True scientific theories are falsifiable. Popper states that theories cannot be disproved not because of lack of evidence, but because they are vague. This shows that Freud's theory is not scientific.